in China, like definitely the social norm is to not marry someone who has less money than you, especially for girls.
So you talk a lot about being a marriageable woman in China. As you mentioned, you do this a little bit ironically. So there's no like specific way that you have to be to get married. But are there certain pressures as a woman to be a certain way in order to be marriageable, in order to be considered for marriage? For example, someone has mentioned that having a PhD is going to work against you if you want to find a husband.
Yeah. So in China, having a PhD degree is not going to stop you from finding a husband, but having a PhD degree at 30 years old will stop you from finding a good husband. Because in the Chinese marriage market, all men care about first and foremost is the age. So if you are not under 25 years old, it will become a huge disadvantage for you to find a good husband in the market.
So how old do you have to be then as a woman to be considered a leftover?
So I think around 30, like after 30 years old. But if you're after 35 years old, then just you're out of the market. It's more like you don't have to consider about getting married anymore. Just to maybe have a child on your own is the best way for you.
So Kevin Samuels was right. Kevin Samuels was right. And I don't, that's not a conversation that I've ever had with him as far as how he came up with the number 35 or whatever, and how he made that applicable to the American dating market or the Western culture. But I mean, he's absolutely right. And, it seems like the more that I study other cultures, because I do speak a little bit of Chinese, I speak Mandarin specifically, and I have visited Tokyo, and I'll be in Seoul, Korea, and maybe it's just the Asian markets, I don't know, but I've seen this in other markets also. In other parts of the world, in the majority of other parts in the world, they don't have the same standards that we have over here in the United States of America. As a matter of fact, what I found is that we're one of the only places, as far as Western culture, obviously you can throw a little bit of Canada in there, whatever, because they're very similar to what we do here. But we're one of the only places where you basically have women saying that they're more valuable now that they have children. They're more valuable the more that they aged. They're more valuable as far as what men are looking for marriage. And then they basically reprogrammed us because even here in Western culture, that didn't used to be the norm. This is a newer thing. This is something that has basically taken place a little bit before I was born, in which I was born in 1982. So as of the recording of this video, I'm 41 years old, turning 42. Actually, in less than a week on April 13th. Shout out to me, happy birthday to me. But anyway, I digress. This is a relatively newer concept where we are being promoted and shamed if you don't support the idea of people becoming stepfathers. I mean, step baby daddies. And I think that I'm about to go on a whole, like, tunnel vision focus on this whole Western versus, other cultures to find out exactly and compare and contrast just to better understand exactly how women expect to move. Because I know that even in Russia, if a woman is having a child out of wedlock, then she's basically considered no good to win over and to men over in Russia. And I mean, it's not just those places. And I know that the ad hominem attacks will come on. But again, this isn't a debate. This is just facts, and this is coming from people that have experienced both cultures, and then they can actually speak to this. And so we're using this as evidence to compare and contrast, and then be able to have a conducive conversation to better evaluate whether or not people should reserve themselves or get married earlier, or if we just want to go down this disastrous path to what we think being in a relationship looks like, which is basically having children out of wedlock, unmarried, breaking up your home, and then resetting the standard as to another man coming in and taking care of kids that he didn't originally have. And let me see a little bit more of this.
Married anymore, just to maybe have a child on your own is the best way for you.
So what if you were married and you got divorced and you're, let's say, like 37? What would happen then?
I think that's actually better than women who haven't got married after 30. Like if you had a marriage before, then you would lower your standards and then you would actually find someone that's maybe also get a divorce before or who have like, you know, who are shorter or who earns less money because you already have a taste of what marriage is like before. So your standards will also go lower and then you'll actually be more likely to find the guy that suits you well.
So you have to be equally yoked, is what she's saying. What she's basically, and you can see the face of the other lady. Look at her. She like, oh man, this goes against everything that we got going on over here in Western culture. What she's basically saying is that you come to the conclusion that you're not up here as far as what men are looking for culturally, as far as what marriage is. And so you lower your standards. And basically, you do that by understanding what marriage is and understanding where your value is in the marketplace. Again, this is not my opinion. I'm just speaking to what she's speaking to on this live stream or on this video that you guys sent me. And I think that this is probably one of the best videos you guys have sent me so far, because now we're not going based off of my opinion, or we're not going based off of your opinion, or we're not going based off of anecdotal experience or evidence or what I've seen and coached through and all of that, even though I've coached through a bevy of different men and women. The point is that now you have to readjust your standards because you don't gain value, you lose value in the eyes of those that are choosing for you to be married.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
But like a lot of times I feel like marriage is a pretty sad thing from my perspective.
Why
Yeah,
so? Why do you think that?
because I don't know, like growing up in China, I just never see any parents who are genuinely happy. Maybe that's the point, because for older generation of parents, they don't really marry for love or anything. They just marry because they're very compatible and they want to work together for the benefits of the family.
Mm.
And that's how our grandparents were like. My grandparents were married for like 50 years but my mom still doesn't think like their marriage is good because she thinks it's very depressed as well. And most of like a lot of people around my mom's age, they got divorced. So I think that's probably why from my generation, when I see all these parents, I just feel like I don't want to be them. I don't want to be a depressed wife at home.
So you have a choice to make because they look at it as a sense of purpose. They did it for what was in the best interest of their children and to build wealth together. And, they know that two people pulling twice their weight or 10 times their weight is much better than one person pulling twice their weight. And so, we all got choices to make. And I think that, there's a balance in there. I think that you can have or look at it from a business perspective first, and there's a sense of duty and purpose, especially from a man's perspective. But at the same time, love comes with it over a period of time when you look outside of just compatibility from a financial perspective. But I'm curious as to what you guys think. Let me know inside of the comments. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Also, Millionaire Morning Show in the morning, after hours, several different nights a week. We had a dope live stream for after hours just yesterday. But again, I'm curious as to what you guys think. Do you think that they get it right, or do you think that we have it right? And then when you consider all of the statistics, divorce rates, and stuff like that, I'm curious as to what you guys think. Again, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.